am here to give you the nuts and bolts of what happens within SeniorHaven. So a call comes in, and that call comes to a number of lines in my department, in the admissions department, and in the social services department as well. When we receive that call, we have a tool, a screening tool, and it is our job to gather as much information as we possibly can within this tool. We need to gather information about the caller. Are they calling from an agency? Are they a self-referral? We typically are not taking self-referrals. So someone calling on their own, if they are in immediate danger, we are either telling them, call 911, or we're making that call ourselves. Some of our calls, self-referral, have not been appropriate calls for a shelter, and I'll get into that as well. We're getting information about the actual potential victim, as much information as we possibly can at this point, what the situation is in the home, and information about the alleged abuser as well. So on this call, we're pulling as much as we can together, and then we are calling together this SeniorHaven team. And that consists of our Director of Nursing, our Director of Social Services, myself, Carol Silver-Elliott, and our Assistant Administrator. Some combination of that group will get together, because at this point, we have a job to do. And many times we know that there's a terrible situation going on, but in not every case is coming to shelter the appropriate response to that situation. So what is appropriate? We have set our shelter program with some specifics. So someone coming to us needs to be a minimum of 65 years old. We also have said that they need to agree to come to shelter. And this is a big piece. Something terrible can be going on in the home, but they may say, no, I can't leave my home. That's where all my things are. Or, my family is there. I can't leave. As Carol has said many times, we are not in the kidnapping business. We are not going to go out even though we know something terrible is going on. We cannot go out and grab that person. All that we can do in that situation is make sure that APS, Adult Protective Services, is aware and know that we are a piece of the puzzle, and just hope, as Naomi said, maybe not the first time, maybe not the second time, but at some point down the road, with APS's involvement, they're going to agree to come to shelter. But again, it is not our role to go out and grab them and bring them. And I can tell you on a personal level that sometimes it's really heart-wrenching, because we're getting these calls and we know that these people are in trouble. There's something really wrong out there. But we are a shelter. We are a piece of the puzzle that is there to be upheld, but sometimes we're just not the first line in that puzzle. And those are some of the calls that we get. They have to agree. If they do agree to come to shelter, they also have to agree to no contact with the alleged abuser for a minimum of 2 weeks. We would like them to not have contact at all, to give them that space to figure out what the next step is. Sometimes that's the stop point. They can't imagine not speaking with their daughter, even though she's the abuser. So that is another piece. Another piece that becomes very complicated is whether someone is competent to make the decision to come to shelter. If someone has dementia, can they make that decision to come to shelter? So that becomes more of an issue, again, where Adult Protective Services needs to help us to sort it out, because there may be a lot that needs to go on before we can have them here. There may need to be a guardianship in place. It is not just so simple, again, that we can go and grab them, even though we know that they're not in a good position. The other piece of our shelter, as we've talked about, is it's a 90 to 120 day stay. This is not a permanent solution. So when we get together, another piece of our discussing the case is, do we see a glimmer of a discharge plan for this person? This is not a homeless shelter. This is a shelter for a temporary amount of time to create a new scenario. So that is something that we're talking about as well when we're together and talking about, is this the case for someone to come to shelter? As I said before, a lot of times it's about reaching out to Adult Protective Services and asking them to get involved to help us to see a better big picture, and that they are ready to come to shelter. So again, the guidelines for this box is that the person is in immediate danger. I can tell you we've gotten calls that are, I'm going on vacation and I don't, mom, I don't have anyone for mom, and here you have a free shelter. That's certainly not that's not a case. Another, tricky area is when we get a call from the hospital. They've used all their Medicare time and they don't have Medicaid in place. We don't have any place for this person, and I think that the daughter is, verbally abusive to her. Yeah, unfortunately, it's really sad, but that's not why the shelter was put in place. So as you can see, there are some challenges. We get a lot of phone calls. We have a lot of meetings that we pull together, and we want to make sure that we're using the program correctly and providing for the elders that we have set this up for. Thank you.